everyone, it's Alex. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. So today I have the long-awaited video that quite a few of you guys had DM'd to see if I was actually going to do it since I love eyeshadow so much. But it's even more of a treat for you guys because today I am collaborating with the beautiful Heather from Love Heather at Here on YouTube. I don't know why we have not collabed before. I've been following Heather for a very, very long time. She's one of the first people that I actually found when I decided to learn more about Project Pans, and I've been loving her ever since. She is such a sweet person, such a sweet soul. She does shop my stashes, she does monthly hauls, she does get ready with me, she does inventory. Anything you see on my channel, you will see on her channel as well. She's so much fun to watch. I really do enjoy her, and she has a beautiful collection. So she does share her whole entire collection inventory, the way that she sets things up and everything. And I love her Insta stories. She does get ready with me on her Insta stories and does her makeup and talks and everything. So I have been enjoying her for a very, very long time. So we decided to collaborate today, and of course this tag came out. This was created by the beautiful Samantha March as well as Allie Glines. They collaborated together and did this tag, and we figured why not collaborate together and do this tag as well. So today we're gonna do all about eyeshadow palettes. This is like my dream video, you guys. Seriously, you know, anything with eyeshadow palettes. So I will have everything linked down below for Heather so you guys can check her out, her channel, Instagram, everything down below. Don't forget to check out her channel. I am dying to see what palette she chose. I've been having a lot of fun watching this tag video go around. But before we get into it, if you're new to my channel, welcome to the familia. My name is Alejandra. I'm an eyeshadow enthusiast with a dash of Project Pan. If that is something that interests you, subscribe, join us. And now without further ado, let's get on with the eyeshadows. All right, so if you're new to my channel, have no clue who I am an eyeshadow enthusiast. I've been an eyeshadow enthusiast all my life. I have 4 foundations, 4 concealers, 2 correctors. Like, I have everything else that's very small and curated for the most part. But when it comes to my eyeshadows, it gets out of hand. That is my thing. That is my jam. I love reviewing things. I love trying new eyeshadow palettes out, getting my foot in the door with different indie brands. So you guys, this is my jam. I'm so excited to do this video. So I wrote down everything with this tag. I tried not to go back and change my answers. What came to mind first is what I wrote down and pulled that palette out. So I hopefully will not change my mind after I edit this video. But here we are, you guys. So I have all the questions down written right over here, or the little, you know, categories that they have come up with. I'll also link down Samantha and Allie's video down below if you have not watched them as well. So let's get started on the first category. My newest palette. Oh, my newest palette. This literally came in the mail about 2 days ago, you guys. If you don't know, May, June, and July are like my Christmas. I really don't buy too much anytime. Like, I just am very selective throughout the year, except for May, June, and July. Somehow, I guess the color schemes of May, June, July always captivate me, and that's what I love to buy eyeshadow palettes. So I just bought the most recent one, and that is the Juvia's Place Wahala palette. I'm actually wearing it on my eyes, you guys, and oh my lord. And I already love them. And this, I own every single one of their eyeshadow palettes, you guys. Every single one of them. So this is my newest palette to my collection. It probably won't be my newest palette for long because, again, May, June, and July are my months to enjoy eyeshadow palettes and pick the ones that I like. So I have a feeling that this might not be my newest one for long, but it is a beautiful palette. First impressions, you guys, I'm loving. There will be a review on this one on my channel, as I always do with my new palettes. All right, so the next category is my oldest palette, and for that is this one. I have had older ones in the past, but I have since decluttered them, and at this point, this is my oldest one. I don't even think they sell this one anymore. This is by Coastal Scents, and it didn't really have a name. It was just the Coastal Scents nude palette, neutral palette, one. I don't know what it was, but this is what it looked like, and this is what it looks like. I love this palette. I still do. I just recently hit pan on this eyeshadow. I enjoy it. These are single shadows that can pop out, and it has a mirror down here. So I really like this one. It's neutral, but it got me in the door to try out single shadows, one, and a different brand that wasn't at Sephora or Ulta at the time. This is a few years old. It's not 10 years old yet, but it's getting there. It's getting there. So I still use it. I still enjoy it. So this is definitely my oldest palette that I own. There's other things that are older than this, but they're not palettes. My most expensive palette. Now, if I actually were to choose one, most of my palettes, I'll tell you that I always find a discount code, coupon code, a sale, some sort of something, so that I don't pay full price. But with this one specifically, this one particular one, I did pay full price, and it is pretty expensive. The rest of their siblings I have been able to find at a decent price, so I haven't paid full price since then, but this one specifically I did. And that is the Viseart, the first one. This is the Neutral 01. I did pay the $80 for this one. This is 80 bucks, you guys. I paid 80 bucks, but it's worth it for me. I love this palette. I just recently used this one about a month ago, and oh my goodness, I forgot how great the quality is of this. I have many of these palettes as we speak, so I have grown my collection, but I haven't spent the $80 again on another palette. I've been able to get them at a discount, so this one is definitely my most expensive. I do own other palettes that are even more expensive retail price, but I didn't pay the retail price for them, so that's why I'm saying this one is my most expensive, because I actually did dish out the $80 for this one. My most affordable one has to be my e.l.f. bite-size ones. These are actually relatively new to my collection. These are the very first e.l.f. eyeshadow palettes, quads I should say, that I purchased in years. I really don't own much e.l.f. and this is basically it. These are $3, really cheap. I've paid less for a single, but for a palette, I would say this is my cheapest one. I have a full ranking video of them. I'll link them up in the iCards. It's one of my favorites. Actually, this was not intentional when I pulled this one out, but the eye look is kind of like this one. So for $3, you'll hear my thoughts on that if you want to watch that video. I do have all of them, but this is definitely the most affordable ones in my collection. The next one is the Everyday palette. As I mentioned in the beginning, I am an eyeshadow enthusiast, so I have I'm saying close to 400 eyeshadow palettes. No, I am not exaggerating. With that many eyeshadow palettes, I tend to rotate mine often. As much as I can, I do shop my stashes, and I am doing pan those eyeshadows, so that has been taking a lot of my time. Even though I have been bringing in palettes, I give myself the freedom of play around with my collection since I have so many, and I try to touch as many palettes as I possibly can, knowing that they're not going to last forever, and I only have two set of eyes.
No, two eyes. One set of eyes. Two sets of eyes.
You guys know what I mean. So I don't have an everyday palette. There isn't one specific palette that I can say I use on an everyday basis. I use it as a companion palette. I use it as my go-to kind of palette. I really don't have one just because I try not to favor one child over the other. I try to give all my children my love equally as much as I possibly can. My most colorful palette. There is quite a few palettes that I have in my collection that are very colorful, but if every time I think of a colorful, bright palette, this is the one that always pops in my head, and this is the Viseart editorial one. This one is exactly what you need without it being too big and too extensive. And what I mean by extensive is you're getting the rainbow and not its family members. It's not like this pink and then a different undertone pink and then a different finish of the pink. This is just straight rainbow. So every time I think of my most bright palette, I would say this one. And not only that, but the pigmentation of this is so amazing that what you see in the pan is what you get on your eyeballs. So that to me is another indication. This is my brightest palette because I know that if I go into this one, it will show up like this. So if I were to choose my brightest one, my most colorful one would be this one. Years ago would have been the Kat Von D one, but now it is this one. Definitely this one. My smallest palette. Now I could have went with the e.l.f. one, but I actually try to give you guys a different answer, and that is this Sonia Kashuk one. This is an older palette. It's not as old as my Coastal Scents, but it is pretty old, and I chose this one specifically because the eyeshadow pans are even smaller than this one. So I would say this is my smallest palette if I were to think of pans. So here it is right here, and you guys, I love this one. I use this one whenever an eyeshadow look doesn't come out the way I want it. This as a topper on top of any of the shadows that I would put on just gives it that extra oomph without it being too much and out there, where, you know, sometimes I don't want to wear glitter on my eyes, but I want something that's going to be reflective, so I'd go for this one. These are beautiful eyeshadows. They are like that gelée formula. Look at this. Like, this is very old. Like, I'm not saying it's old, like 10 years old, but it's old and it still performs beautifully. I really enjoy this one. So I would have to say my smallest one, I'd go with this one just because the pans are smaller than this one. My biggest palette, okay. So I have one drawer out of my Alex drawers, and I have 2 towers full of them, plus what's in my desk. I have one specific drawer where I keep all of my large palettes. My large palettes, I try to keep at a minimum number, and if it doesn't doesn't fit in that drawer, that means I don't need anymore. So if that drawer gets packed, I either have to declutter some or I'm not allowed to buy anymore if I like what I have. Because I don't like large palettes too much. I think they just take up too much space. So I try to keep my palettes at a certain size. But this one specifically was gifted to me during the Christmas time. I actually did not share on my channel what I got for Christmas this past year in 2019. So this palette is going to be a surprise to some of you, a lot of you guys, especially if you watch my channel often, because I haven't pulled it out to play with it because I just started my Shop My Stash again, and I wanted to pull this one out this month, but if you watch my Shop My Stash, you know why I did not. So my largest palette has to go to this one. This is definitely my largest palette I own. This is the Morphe 39L. This is a really nice palette, and this is the only Morphe large palette like this that I own. I don't have any other one, and again, it's because it was gifted to me. So this one, if I were to pick any of the ones that they have come out with thus far, this would probably be the one I would choose. I've yet to play with it because it's so large, and I haven't had a chance, but I do want to pull this out sometime this summer to mess around with it. It does have those bright shades at the bottom over here, so it will be nice. I think it does go well with like the whole entire year without it being so redundant like most of the Morphe palettes are. I think this one, they actually did not such a bad job with it, but compared in that drawer, when I compared the sizes of all my palettes, this is the one that stuck out the most. This is the one that sits all the way at the bottom because it is the largest in its size completely. The palette with the best memory, I would have to say, is the Weekend Festival. This is the palette that got me back into color, got me back into indie brands, got me back into BH Cosmetics, got me back into the fun of wearing makeup. I am a colorful eyeshadow palette lover as well as a neutral. I am an equal opportunity lover when it comes to eyeshadows. I do not discriminate. I am not one that only likes one certain genre or another. I will try everything with the exception of maybe grays, but I will wear anything on my eyes and rock it out. I don't care how old I'll be. I'll do glitter, I'll do neutrals, I'll do no eyeshadow and just mascara. So this just reminded me how much I love color, how much I missed it, how much I steered away from it on my channel. This palette just reminds me of summer and fun and color, and still be able to tone things down or brighten them up or do pops of colors. Everything, the packaging of this, everything about this palette just puts a smile on my face. Anyone that I said, yeah, it's definitely a palette you should get at the time, has loved it, has never regretted it. I still get to this day when I post things about this palette that they are thankful that they listened to me and bought the palette because they still enjoy it to this day. I don't think I've ever heard one person say they didn't like this palette. It's just a good palette for the price. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. It was definitely worth every single penny. I love this palette. Every time I look at it, it just gives me a smile. All right, palette that's worth the hype. Now, I couldn't pick one palette, you guys. So, you know me, oh my gosh, I have a problem with that. I couldn't pick just one palette that was just worth the hype, worth it all 100%. So I actually chose a brand that was worth it completely. Any of the Juvia's Place palette, any of the palettes, any of them that appeal to you, it definitely is worth the hype. I own every single one. I really do. And there's not one that I can say that was terrible, that it isn't worth it. They have so many different color stories that I think that it is worth the hype if you want to try one of their palettes. Any of their palettes. They're affordable, you're getting nice size pans, you're getting in a range of color. They're not just sticking to colorful eyeshadows. They have neutral palettes, they have ones with glitter, they have ones with mattes only, they have ones with shimmers only, they have different color stories. And what I love about this brand is that they are not afraid to pair colors together in a color story. They pair colors together where I personally wouldn't even think to put these colors together on my eyes, and they come out so good. This is being one of them. All peaches, and then they add grays, and I was like, really? And then I did 2 looks, 1 palette with this when it first came out, and I loved how it came out with the grays. And I'm not a gray eyeshadow lover. That's one of the few eyeshadows that I'm not a fan of, and I enjoy it. So if I were to choose a specific palette from their brand, any of them are worth the hype. You won't be breaking the bank to try them out, and I think they're really, really good. It's a great place to start if you want to dip your toes into color but don't want to spend an arm and a leg. You can get the one that you appreciate and love and know that you'll use, and the quality is good. It's really good. All right, again, for not worth the hype, I could not pick one palette specifically, because if it's not worth the hype, I don't own it. It just comes down to that. If a palette doesn't stand up to its hype or my own personal standards, it does not have a space in my collection. So there is not one palette in my collection that I can say is not worth the hype, because they would not be here. But if I were to pick one brand again, because I did the one brand for the hype, so I had to do the one brand for the not worth the hype, I would just say Morphe. It's very few and far between when they release a palette that's actually not bad. And this is one of them. I think I own 3 palettes in total of them that are large ones, like the 35 pan. And they're very different from anything else that they've released. They're actually different and unique. They're not all brown. I don't think they're worth the hype, honestly. There has been so many indie brands. I am one that's constantly talking about indie brands. I have reviewed so many indie brands on my channel. I share my indie brand love with you guys. Anytime I do an eyeshadow palette video of any kind, you can guarantee that I will always throw in an indie brand in there somewhere. So I just love indie brands, and I think that they are so good. Some of them are exactly the same price range as Morphe and they're 10 times better. Some of them are a little bit more, but it's definitely worth it. I don't think Morphe is that I'm sorry. If you like Morphe, I am sorry. It's just I don't get it. I don't get the hype. I don't see how people love to get these palettes and collect them. It's the same crap over and over and over. Again, I only own 3, and that's because those 3 are so unique from anything else that they have come out with within their own brand that it's worth it for me to keep. Other than that, I don't. I just don't. I don't think they're worth it. I'm sorry. I don't think they're worth it. My favorite palette from my favorite brand. Exactly what I just pointed out in the last one, I'm going to point out here. It is an indie brand. It's probably my top indie brand at the moment. I just love them. Every single palette they've come out with, I have absolutely loved. I raved about. I'm constantly raving about. If you are a regular on my channel, you have probably the inclination of which palette I am going to say, and that is this one. This one. It took a lot for me to not put this on my eyeballs, and in here you can see that I could actually do this look with this palette as well. This is the Menagerie Cosmetics Pharaoh palette. This is the first palette I purchased. No, this is the second palette I purchased from this brand, and I fell head over heels. I love this. I love everything about this brand. This is again another brand where they do different color stories. I mean, I have all their palettes. I'm still waiting on my pastel one, but look at this one. This is a smaller curated one. They all have these beautiful artwork on all of their palettes. They support animals. Look at this one. This is gorgeous on here. I have all reviews on all these, the color stories. This one's the neutral one. Like, I mean, I can keep going and going and going. I love this brand. I absolutely love this brand. And out of all the palettes that they come out with, this is still by far my favorite. I love everything about this palette. This palette just, it's me. This is me in a palette. If I were to say I have to slap my name on one palette and say this is describing me, my personality, the way I am, it'd be this one. Loud and proud, but still can be subdued at the same time. I'm a chameleon. I work with it. I go with the flow. I'm also out. Like, it's just everything about this palette is me. I love it. Absolutely love it. This is definitely my favorite palette. My favorite brand. Everything they've come out with is just amazing. And for the last one, my most used one, and that is this one. This is the Lorac Pro. This is my most used eyeshadow palette. This, you can see how many pans I have in this one. I still like this palette to this day. Is it my favorite all time? No, but I still love it. It has sentimental value to me as well, but I have gotten quite a bit of use out of this one. If I need a go-to palette, if I don't care to be fussing with color or I don't want to fuss with a specific formula, this is the palette I go to. I know I can do something super quick on my eyes. It'll be there, it'll show, but it's still good enough where it doesn't look like I did not know what I was doing. I still love this palette to this day. So there you guys have it. Those are my picks for this tag. I had so much fun doing this. Thank you so much, Heather, for doing this with me. Don't forget to check her out down in the description box. Tell her I sent you. I cannot wait to see her picks and everyone else's that I have yet to watch. I appreciate each and every one of you. I will put more videos right over here for your enjoyment. Until then, bye.